Hello, welcome back to Thriving, the show where we amplify voices of those people that choose to thrive in spite of or because of the circumstances in their lives. Today with me in studio is Seipati Twasa, a business coach, strategist, entrepreneur, Dibalantoni na, and a person who is also an alumni at GIBS and is such an advocate for all things education. So I cannot wait. Seipati, thank you.
Thank you, Lerato. I wasn't sure whether to say or whether to say
That would have been appropriate also.
But thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the warm welcome.
Yeah. I've been hunting you because I was like, yours is a story that also needs to be featured on this platform.
Thank you so much. You hunted me during my research report writing in 2022. I was like, Lerato, not gonna happen. But I'm so glad that I can be here at this point. Yeah.
Also happy.
Yeah.
So, let's get into it. Who is Seipati and how does Seipati define thriving?
If I were to, introduce myself the way I used to, I'd say I'm just a girl from Eka Susan along with Brenda Fassi. Touch somebody, take it higher and higher, Seipati. Brenda sang na arama tlachi samate ki hakibone haberi, hitting these verses like a tragedy. Of course, I'm short when I say, make it like you want to, but anyway.
Bringing back memories. Bringing back memories. Yes.
Seipati Twasa is born in Qwaqwa, born and raised in Qwaqwa in the Free State, former homeland. And Lerato, at the age of 21, I got the privilege to get into the media space. And I've been in the media space for the past 24 years, playing different roles on different platforms, television, radio. Some people might remember Jam Ellie, done quite a bit of conversational shows as well with Urban Brew. But I am fixed and, etched into Lesedi FM and I just love my Sesotho language audiences. But other than that, the business, the all of that is a little bit the behind the scenes part. But I think the elements that a lot of people know and relate with are my presence on different media platforms and on social media. Yeah.
Okay. And so, thriving.
Thriving.
What does it look like?
For me, thriving is having the platform to express my passion, my creativity, and it's having a platform to be able to contribute to somebody's progression in whatever form or level. I coin my mission as weaving words to lead and inspire generations by all means necessary. So I'm a wordsmith, and if I have to entertain you to get through to you so that your day can be better today, I'll do it.
That's what you'll do.
If I have to be educated to help you to be better, I will do it. But I just feel like words are such powerful forces of creating a reality that they are my tool for doing that in the minds of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I guess the sad thing is words can also be a tool for distraction, but
Correct.
You have chosen to actually use words.
Correct. I feel like I'm thriving when I see a smiley face, when I see that here's somebody that used to be in an obscure place, and because of words or because of something I did, they are now in a brighter place where they find their own voice and their own expression. Then I really feel like I'm thriving because I believe that a service to man is actually a service to God. So when I'm doing that, I feel like I'm getting my cross in place. I'm relating this way and that way.
Yeah. So what does it look like on a daily basis when you're making that impact?
Sure. Look, I think radio is such a now medium for me. It's a now medium. Radio is the theater of the mind. Somebody once said, television gives you the image, but radio creates images in a million minds. And if you think about it, one gets the opportunity to paint images of hope, images of of a better future every time you switch on that microphone. And that's what it looks like for me. But how education comes into effect is, for me, education is a light. It's a light. When you illuminate a thing and make it simple and make it relatable, suddenly a person can use that thing to do can use it to actually create a value for themselves or for somebody else. So because of a world of growth, it is important to constantly grow in order for the audience to constantly grow. So hence for me to get I'll say self-development in the sense of an education is me having the tools to stay relevant, but to continue to assist my audiences to become better.
Okay.
Every day.
Going back to serving them in developing yourself.
Correct.
It helps you remain relevant and of service.
Yes,
I guess
it does.
And as you said, being of service to them allows you to then also be of service to God or worship
Correct.
God in the same process. When has it looked like you were not thriving? and how? What did you make of that period or those circumstances?
I think around 2016. In fact, maybe earlier than that. I think around 2013, I was feeling a bit bored. I had been doing the same things for a long time, and I was starting to feel bored. And I was asking myself, isn't there more? What do I really want to do? Where do I want to go? And my search started then. But I think it was around 2016 where I realized that I want to move from fame to significance. I want to be able to make significant impact with the audiences that I've been privileged to interact with, and with just the people that I'm privileged to be connected to. And I was asking myself, what does that look like? What does impact look like? And I realized that I needed to shift my perspective. I needed to afford myself a lot more options, and I needed to be able to make choices. There are certain choices you can't make unless you have certain credentials. There are certain rooms you can't come into unless you have certain credentials.
Very true.
And there are things you can't see unless you have certain perspectives. And I realized that for the things that are frustrating me in my life, I do need to get new perspectives. And I do need to afford myself access into rooms that I've not had access to. And I do need to be able to make choice. And I asked myself, if I wanted to change industry, what does that look like? Where am I going? What is my next passion? It can't be that this is all there is to me.
Sure.
And that question began to dictate the next steps I needed to make. And I remember I was just looking at what happens to my life beyond 60 when I maybe don't want to be on radio anymore. Will I ever not want to be on radio? What if I want to own a radio station? What does that look like?
What do you need to learn to be able to?
And I think then the MBA was an obvious choice from where I was, but I was so far from an MBA.
Got you.
I remember at one point, my contract came up, and it was at some point almost not going to be renewed. And
so you're asking yourself these difficult questions.
Yeah. And then there's also this that I'm a freelancer.
Yeah.
And when you're a freelancer, you're working from contract to contract. Correct. So there is no such thing as job security. And I was asking myself, what happens when this is not there? Who am I? Should it be? And I've been privileged to be in the industry for as long as I have, but I've seen some industry colleagues who have not had the same privileges. And I had to decide on a future that I wanted to carve. And so an MBA would give me access to learning about entrepreneurship, would give me access to learning about management. It would help my perspective around the business environment.
Yes.
And so it was an obvious choice. But I think what really helped my journey was meeting people that could hold my hand in the process of that search and say, these are the opportunities, these are the institutions to look at, and these are the benefits that can come out of this. And I must say, I'm glad I made those particular decisions. Oh, definitely.
Yes. So what I'm hearing from you relates so much to the episodes we've had with different people, but also when we started this program, we kind of did a bit of research, right? Because we're in an academic institution. And a lot of the scholars, when they look at thriving, it comes down to two sort of vital elements. And one is that element of development, self-development. And then the other one is the element of vitality, right? Which I guess is the energy stuff, the stuff that keeps you going despite the challenges. But what I'm hearing from your story is that self-development, asking yourself the critical question, first of all, in terms of what's my next and what do I need to get there? And they also speak to the importance of intentionality. I'm hearing a lot of, once you figured out you needed to get into those doors, those offices and those boardrooms that you were not in, there was some intentionality in, I guess, your goal setting, your action planning.
Definitely.
Because as you say, you were far off from the MBA. Now we tell the story, you have the MBA.
No, definitely, Lerato. Intentionality comes into play. There will be trade-offs. As an artist, as an entertainer, having to focus on academics, it cost me time, which meant certain things had to wait. I could no longer gig for years. I could no longer do the things that I used to do in order to make room for this change that was happening. And yes, you are right. The energy, maintaining the energy, defining the why before you get into a process that's really going to pull you and stretch you. And the 4-year period of studies really pulled and stretched me so much that I constantly had to remember why. Why am I doing this? And the why had to be bigger than the pain of the process. And, I think we live in a constant tension of the now and the then. And the now is, being intentional also about being in the moment and enjoying what you can take out of the moment, even there is pain. But enjoying connecting with new people, enjoying being in a new environment, enjoying the new knowledge. I mean, half the time I felt like I was watching YouTube channel. I was like, what? I didn't know that. How could I live for so long and I didn't know that? I'm like, what have I been saying to people all these years?
And you've had this platform,
and I've
right?
I've had this platform, and I was like, oh my goodness, I need to get more of this. And I think what was an amazing aha moment for me going through the process was, especially when I finished the PMD, was feeling like, oh my goodness, I need to get educated. You've
just finished, right? But you started looking but
there's a lot I don't know. And I think that's what I love about the humility of learning, is the more you learn, the more you realize how much you actually don't know, that what you have learned is really a small part of what is there to learn. And hence it really carves your character into a humble human being, that understands that you really are privileged to know what you know, and that because you know what you know, to whom much is given, much more is required. Therefore, you now bear the responsibility of what you know to improve and advance humanity.
So your why must be clear, because it helps you even in those icky moments. Right?
Definitely.
And I know you've shared on the side that while this was a valuable adventure, it had its moments. But the why keeps you going.
It does.
And I guess the reminding yourself to find the joy in the process. And I think quite often we forget to do that. So not only in terms of our studies, maybe you're going through a program at GIBS, but I think in our careers also sometimes we're so gung-ho on the next step in the career ladder. You don't actually enjoy the process as well.
That's very true. Lerato, I think when you learn to be in the moment, you really enjoy even the small things. You enjoy the the laughters, you enjoy the connections, you enjoy the food. You know, you enjoy the fact that they gave you fruits.
Yeah.
You know, you really are present. And I think upon graduation, it was really those things that were my highlight. I realized, yes, the graduation was great, but it's 2 minutes.
Yes.
But the
you've
real
been on this 4-year
pleasure
journey. Yeah.
was in the 4 years. It was in the chase for the deadlines. It was in the cases and thinking, what? How did somebody think of this? It was in all of that. So it's very important, as you're saying, but also taking that to the workplace and playing with it in the workplace and seeing the impacts and watching the results. You're like, hey, these toys work.
Yes, they do.
You know?
They do, right?
They actually
It's not
work.
Just stuff in the classroom.
Yeah. And I think the beautiful thing is you don't even have to get the credit. It's just taking these things that you now know into the marketplace and seeing that they work, that really gives you bursts of pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to wrap this up. And I often ask people, you have found these wisdom points for yourself, but there are others who might not be going through thriving moments at the moment. We also learned that thriving can show up in different ways at different times.
Yes.
So if you were to talk to your audience now, and here I am thinking about the woman who is trying to make her mark in the industry she's in, the youth who's trying to find their voice in this economy that we're struggling with, the student at GIBS who's going through their icky moments, but they know it's important.
Yeah.
How do they get to that point of thriving again?
Look, I think we cannot discount the reality that we live in an interconnected world, and that it is human connections are very important. I am where I am because somebody saw potential in me, and it's important to connect with people that see things in you that you don't see in yourself. They become a powerful resource in your down moments. So that for me is important. So find a person you can connect with. A coaching, mentoring, very important. It is all that has carried me here. But I also will go back to make sure that your why is clear. I think finding that noble purpose for why you are doing what you're doing is very important, because then it helps carry you through. That even if things are not going as you thought they should be, or as you thought they should go, there is that very important thing that must be accomplished. And for me, it was on multiple levels. It was personal, it was communal, and it was societal. And I think from a personal basis, I needed a score to settle. My father dropped out of an MBA, so I needed that score to settle. But secondly, as the eldest, I needed to say to my siblings, this is the way to go. But thirdly, I needed to say to my industry, we too can make a mark. But from a community level, I knew somebody who did not finish their matric, if they heard that Twasa is back at school, they might just work up the courage to go finish that matric. And so many people have then gone on to finish their research, gone on to get their master's degree. Some have gone on to get their PhDs. And they were like, we watched your journey, and we were like, if you are doing it, so can I. And from a societal perspective, what one does at a personal level, has this compounding effect. And when we become better and our families become better, our communities become better, we then get to build this society that we so desire to have. So keep going, don't stop, and don't take no for an answer.
Love it. Keep going, don't stop, and don't take no for an answer. You heard it again, the themes of community, of village coming through, the importance of purpose, helping us in those trying moments, but also connecting, finding those connections where people will say, Seipati, you've got this, you're good for it. That was our show today. As always, please feel free to share your thriving stories, because we remain committed to amplifying those voices of those who choose to thrive.